Hi everyone. So I actually wasn't going to film anything now, but I thought I'll have a little play in my journal, and then I thought, why don't I switch on the camera, because you might enjoy it as well. So today I have received my copy of the latest Vogue, so this is the November issue, and the cover is pretty beautiful. So it's really beautiful dress that goes all the way down. It's one of those fairy tale kind of dresses, and I like the hair and I like the bow, so the whole look, you know, that typical 60s kind of pose. Yeah, so let's try and do something with it. So I'm going to leave it next to me, and just for inspiration. Now today I'm going to use shock horror, actually gesso as a base. However, do not start complaining just yet. There will be watercolors, a bit of a cheat, but here is the Dr. P.H. Martin's Hydrus line, which is basically like concentrated watercolors. Now, as a watercolor, the sense of it, the classic understanding of a watercolor, I'm not too keen on them. First of all, they settle here. I did contact the company directly to ask whether I had a wrong batch or whether that's normal. They never responded to me, so not sure what to take of it, but yeah, it takes ages to shake it, to dissolve, and there's just no point. I don't have the time to do that for every single bottle. So not too fond of them as watercolors, because they are a little bit too intense. They stain. I guess the main problem I have is the staining. They stain the page like crazy, so you don't really have time to maneuver like you would do with watercolor. You can't do any lifting and such. So what I will try to do is use them as a kind of combination with gesso. Now, gesso is like a heavy body acrylic, so I'm actually not sure what the difference would be between if you buy acrylic, so this is a heavy body acrylic paint as well, or you use gesso. I tried both, and I think that this might be more kind of like matte. It's more matte than this one, but really there isn't that big of a difference. Now Mason is currently chilling here in the armchair in my studio, so that's a beautiful peaceful moment we're having. Okay, let's embrace that. So I'm going to take one of these tear off palettes. So this one is a little bit crinkled up because, again, Mr. Mason help mummy here. So in terms of brushes, I just looked through what I already had, and these looked like they would be great for this type of job. I'm not sure. This is a System 3. I'm not sure if it's actually for watercolor or not, but I mean, it doesn't look like a great watercolor brush for me. And I think they would be great for acrylics. Now, so this is a 10 round. Then I have a script 1 inch. Is it 1 inch? Doesn't look like a 1 inch to me, but that's sort of more for detail if I need. And then this one is my favorite one. It's the 1/4, again, System 3 Daleroni short flat, and it says SY55. I like this brush for if I'm mixing watercolors, just to pre-mix a little puddle. So these type of flat brushes are great for that because they're more resilient, so you can abuse them a little bit more. But yeah, for acrylics I like it because of the texture it gives me. I used it, in fact, for this one here. Can you see the texture of the paint? There we go. It's quite textured, isn't it? So it's quite nice. When you go over it, it's actually really rough, and you can see the brush marks here on the skirt as well. So that's the style that I want to do it in today. The hat kind of has to be quite small because of the dress, but that's weird to me. I like to always have a big hat so I can work on it and create some sort of looks. So from this point I'm going to put some music to it and let you enjoy the process, and we're going to catch up at the end because otherwise it would be a very, very long video. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to take a palette knife and take out some gesso and then start mixing different colors. In the end I'll tell you which colors are which. So I've got some colors. Look at the white. I mean, my god, that just completely separated. Can you see that? I hope you can see. It's the water and the pigment is just at the bottom. Weird. Anyway, but I haven't used them in a long time, so maybe that's why. Alright, so let's continue with the process. Okay, so at this moment I decided it started looking horrendous and I wanted to start again, and that is the beauty of acrylic paints. You can just work in coats and layers and you can cover up something you didn't like, leaving something you were okay with. So I left the dress. I thought the dress and the arm looked quite nice. So the rest I just covered up with gesso and that is it. So I am able to see some of the grey from underneath, but I think it adds a little bit of texture rather than just being a completely white page. It does have something interesting there. While I am also waiting, I'm just going to make some scribbly marks wherever gesso is still a little wet. So here, for instance, like that. I'm embracing the artist in me and trying to be a little bit more gutsy. So I think I'm going to go in with wet paint over here and repeat a bit of that texture. So now I will take my Polychromos pencils and try to draw on the dress a little bit, and while this all is drying. Okay, so at the minute I have to say I'm absolutely loving the way it looks, and almost it makes me feel that I don't need to add face or a head. I certainly don't want to add the detail, the amount of detail that I had in mind to begin with. And mind you, look at my hands. I am the artist today. So I absolutely love also how Polychromos are drawing on top of gesso. It's a very, very nice texture. I mean, in fact, gesso is supposed to give you that kind of base on the paper that you could use mediums, different mediums on, and it's just sort of preparing, making it a canvas really, rather than just paper. So everything will move differently on gesso. So have a go. I mean, you can even totally take watercolors. In fact, I will do it as we speak and add it on here. The reason I'm doing this today is quite different to my usual watercolor videos, and I really hope that most of you are still tuned in and watching and not, doing the let's watch something else type of thing, because I have in fact filmed today a review for, let me just grab it quickly. So this one here, the painted art journal, and as I was doing the review, and I've been kind of trying to read it for a few days now as well, I have to say, as I was doing the review, I got really inspired, and this is the outcome. So it made me want to use my other tools and art supplies that I have, and not only feel great that one day I purchased them and I haven't really used them much, so I'm incorporating everything, and it becomes a lot more fun that way. You really start to feel the artistic kind of thing come through. So there's this part of gesso that I laid on quite thickly, and I'm still waiting for it to dry. But as it happens, I am going to grab my watercolor palette and in fact show you what I could do with the colors. And let's see, I'm going to use a cheap brush. So this is I don't remember if it actually was cheap to buy, but it's kind of beat up by now. It's what I used to use ages ago, and because it's gesso, you don't want to use your best watercolor brush, because obviously the texture is quite rough compared to paper, right? So it's going to kill the bristles quite quickly. So I'm just thinking what colors I'd like to splash on here and kind of make it really lovely. So I really like this quinacridone gold. Now let's have a look. So coming on to the pencil, moving it around, you'll see it just does something gorgeous, doesn't it? You could never achieve this type of look with just paper, water and watercolor. So in this kind of situation, you can see that combining other mediums can be quite helpful actually sometimes. So I want to add it somewhere else on the dress, like so, but not too much. And here I will take it out a little bit just because it's a bit too dark. And that's it. And then I'm going to darken up this part a little bit more. Try it, honestly. Get a tub of gesso. It's really not expensive when you buy a big tub. It will last you ages. And just have a little go. You really, really will enjoy it.